Well, good afternoon. This is Pastor Dwayne coming to you from right here in the big city of Gaston, Oregon. We represent New Life Christian Fellowship, where we are one of the pastors there. Pastor Jason's been helping us as well, and he's been a blessing to us, as I certainly appreciate that. And but we've been doing this at the middle of the week, in addition to our regular service, which airs every Sunday morning at 11 o'clock. But so I have two or three things that I'd like to share today. And I'm going to begin reading in order to give a little bit of a background in the book of Acts, chapter 8. It begins at verse 26. And it says, "And the angel of the Lord spake unto Philip, saying, Arise and go toward the south unto the way that goeth down from Jerusalem to Gaza, which is desert. And he arose and went, and he beheld a man of Ethiopia, a eunuch of great authority, riding along, reading the book of Isaiah." And the Bible says that he ran alongside of him and heard him reading this. So he apparently was reading it out loud. So and they've told us more, if you've been around in instruction, if you read out loud, it's like you get it twice, and not only with your eyes and whatever, but your ears here as well. So anyway, he was reading from the book of Isaiah. Now, the thing that caught my attention, a couple of things here, is that verse 30 said, "And Philip ran to him and heard him." And this is all under the instructions of the Lord. So I thought, wait a minute, I wonder about Philip. So I had to go back and I read back in the Gospel of John in chapter 1. I had to go back and do a little research there. And in verse 43 it says, "The day following, Jesus would go forth into Galilee and findeth Philip." So Philip was someone that Jesus saw and called him to follow him. He just says, "Follow me." In verse 44, "And then Philip was of Bethsaida, the city of Andrew and Peter." So apparently they probably knew each other. And then he went immediately and found Nathanael and said, "Come, I found the one that's the Messiah," and so forth and so on. So what that told me, right in the very, very beginning, Philip was a recruiter. A recruiter. He was chosen by the Lord, and then immediately he wanted to share what he had with someone else. And it reminds me of two guys that came to my house yesterday. One of them was a recruiter, and the other one was one that had been recruited. And they came to the house yesterday. I knew both of them. And the one that was being recruited also knew me, but he was reluctant to come because he felt heavy conviction going on over some things he had done. And the recruiter said, "Hey, come on, man. Pastor he don't condemn you. He won't put you down. He'll just reach out to you." And so it was a modern day example of Philip. Philip is in the book of John and also mentions him in Matthew, but here in the book of Acts, he is truly a recruiter, because the Lord said, "Go down to this area that's desert." Now, if he had said, "Go to this big city over here," that would be understandable. But to go to a desert? But he obeyed, because he was one that was not only a recruiter, but one who wanted to obey the Lord. So off he went, and of course he met up with the eunuch. Now, the first thing that Philip says to him, do you understand what you're reading? Now you're reading from Isaiah, the prophet. Do you understand what that is? And if you read it in the book of Acts, the eunuch says, hey man, I can't understand any of it unless somebody explains it to me. Again, I thought about the teachings that Pastor Jason's been given to us at church on Sunday, I know at 11 o'clock. He's been talking about sharing your faith. That's a recruiter. That's someone that goes out and recruits and tells somebody else about their experience. And the best message that we can take is our own. Mine, it won't be the same as Pastor Jason. It won't be the same as Andy or no matter who. It's not going to be the same because we've all had different experiences. But our experience, and that's what, Philip had been walking with the Lord long enough when in the book of Acts that he was willing to go to the desert. Now, not too many people are willing to say, okay, fine, I don't understand this, but I'm going to do it. There's nothing in Scripture that says that. It just says he did. And as he went, he had an opportunity not just to share his faith, but his knowledge, his understanding of the Scripture. And that's what brought the message to the eunuch. And the eunuch said, picture this a little bit with me. Here's Philip run alongside the chariot. That's the way it reads. He's running along, and he listening. Do you understand what you're saying? No. And he said, why don't you get up here and ride with me? So he probably stopped, or Philip jumped in. I don't know. But at least he got in the chariot, and he began to explain to him what he was reading. And he said, and as he did, he brought in his own experience with Jesus. So he began to take Isaiah and use Isaiah and then share with the eunuch, because the eunuch began to quiz him, and he said, this is all about Jesus. And so he had his own experience, and that experience, or that sharing, that recruiting, the eunuch says, hey, here's some water right here. How about I'm stopping and you baptizing me? And boy, I mean, how much more excited could anyone get? I think I shared Sunday in church about baptizing my grandfather, 90-some years old. And I had the privilege of baptizing him. Man, that was exciting, So, and they stopped the chariot. He baptizes him in the water, in the river, or the whatever that was there. And then immediately the Spirit translated Philip way across town, and he was across to another community. You never know what God's going to do with your recruitment experience. I know yesterday, before it was all over with, the recruiter that had brought the person that he had recruited here, we had prayer together, and they left excited. I expect to see them in church. Bless you. If you don't have a place to go, I expect to see you too. Have a good day.
We hope you enjoyed this week's message. Join us each Wednesday for a midweek pick-me-up. And don't forget to visit New Life Christian Fellowship on our website. And until next time, may God bless you.